My life was ordinary. Wake, work, eat, sleep. Every day was a mirror image of the one before. I had a routine that I followed religiously, almost like clockwork. It was predictable, safe, and uneventful. I never imagined that something as simple as a phone call could shatter that monotony. Repeat, until the calls began. It was late, always late, when the world was quiet and the shadows seemed to grow longer. The first ring was startling, cutting through the silence of the night like a knife. I remember feeling a chill run down my spine.
Every night, 11:59 p.m., an unknown number. The timing was precise, almost too precise, as if it were orchestrated by some unseen hand. The phone would ring and I would stare at it, my heart pounding in my chest. A voice, chillingly familiar yet distorted like a broken mirror reflecting his own. It was as if I was speaking to a version of myself that had been twisted and warped by some unknown force. The voice was both comforting and terrifying, a paradox that left me feeling unsettled.
The first call, I dismissed it. A prank. I laughed it off thinking it was just someone playing a joke. But deep down I felt a sense of unease that I couldn't shake off. The second, I listened, heart pounding. The voice was more insistent this time, more urgent. It spoke of things that were about to happen, things that seemed trivial at first but soon took on a more sinister tone. The voice spoke of mundane details, things about to happen. It was as if it knew my every move, my every thought. The precision of its predictions was unnerving. A spilled coffee, a wrong turn, small, insignificant events that seemed harmless on their own but together painted a picture of something much darker. Events that unfolded exactly as foretold. Each prediction came true, one after the other, like dominoes falling in a line. It was both fascinating and terrifying to watch.
Fear turned to morbid curiosity. I found myself waiting for the calls, eager to hear what the voice would say next. It was a dangerous game, but I couldn't help myself. Each night, Ethan waited, phone clutched in his clammy hand. The anticipation was almost unbearable, a mix of dread and excitement that kept him on edge. The voice, his future self, warned him of dangers, small and insignificant at first, but growing increasingly ominous. The warnings became more dire, the stakes higher. It was as if the voice was leading him down a path he couldn't escape from, a path that grew darker with each passing night. The calls became Ethan's curse, trapped in a macabre game with time, the knowledge of the future, a poisoned chalice. He became obsessed, his life now dictated by the cryptic warnings.
Avoid the corner of Elm and Fifth. Don't trust the woman in red. Every instruction a chilling testament to the impending doom lurking around every corner.
Ethan found himself at a crossroads. Heed the warnings and live a life dictated by fear, or ignore them and face the unknown consequences. The psychological torment was unbearable. Was he a puppet dancing to the strings of his future self? Sleep became a distant memory. The calls, a constant reminder of the precarious tightrope he walked. The warnings grew more urgent, the future self's voice thick with desperation.
Don't go to the bridge tonight.
The static-laced voice sent shivers down his spine.
Don't trust her.
Her? Who was her?
Questions swirled in Ethan's mind unanswered, fueling his paranoia. For weeks, Ethan had been a prisoner in his own life, following the spectral instructions, his world shrinking with every call. But tonight something shifted. A rebellious spark ignited within him. He yearned for control, for answers. A defiance bloomed in Ethan's chest. He had been pushed around for too long, and the weight of his decisions had started to crush him. The fear that once paralyzed him was now transforming into a burning resolve. He knew that tonight was the night he had to take a stand, no matter the cost. He was tired of being a pawn in this terrifying game. Every step he took seemed to be orchestrated by unseen hands, and every move he made was met with resistance. The exhaustion was palpable, but so was his determination. He could no longer sit idly by and let fate dictate his path. He needed answers, even if it meant facing the consequences. The questions that haunted him every night demanded resolution. Who was behind the mysterious messages? What did they want from him? The uncertainty gnawed at his sanity, and he knew that the only way to find peace was to confront the source of his torment. Tonight, he would confront his fear. The bridge had always been a place of dread, a symbol of the unknown. But now, it was also a beacon of hope, a place where he could finally find the answers he sought. He steeled himself for what lay ahead, knowing that this confrontation could change everything.
I decided to go to the bridge. The decision wasn't easy, but it felt inevitable. The voice had warned me time and again, but curiosity and desperation overpowered my fear. I needed to see for myself what awaited me there, the same bridge the voice warned me about. It was a place of legends and whispered tales, a place where reality and myth seemed to blur. The warnings echoed in my mind, but I couldn't turn back now. I had to know the truth. The same bridge shrouded in darkness and whispered rumors. The air was thick with tension, and every step I took felt like a step into the unknown. The fog wrapped around me like a shroud, and the silence was deafening. But I pressed on, driven by a need to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the shadows.
As he drove, the phone rang. The caller ID flashing the now familiar, dreaded, unknown number. He ignored it. The calls had become a constant in his life, a reminder of the unseen forces at play. But tonight he couldn't afford any distractions. His focus was solely on the bridge and the answers it promised. The bridge loomed, a steel and concrete monster against the night sky. It was both intimidating and awe-inspiring, a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder of the mysteries that still eluded him. The city lights cast eerie shadows, and the structure seemed to pulse with a life of its own. A lone figure stood at the railing, silhouetted against the city lights, a woman in red. She was an enigma, a part of the puzzle he was trying to solve. Her presence was both a comfort and a warning, a sign that he was on the right path, but also a reminder of the dangers that lay ahead. As he approached, he knew that this encounter would be pivotal, a turning point in his quest for the truth. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat urging him to turn back.
But the need for answers, for control, outweighed the fear.
He approached the woman, each step heavier than the last.
It's you.
She said, her voice barely a whisper, turning to face him. Her face, etched with worry, was eerily familiar, but before he could speak, a blinding light filled his vision, a deafening screech of tires, metal crunching against metal, the sickening thud of impact. Then darkness.
Where am I? What is this place?
Ethan woke up in a hospital bed, his body screaming in protest. Every muscle ached, and his head throbbed with a dull, persistent pain. Disoriented, he pieced together the fragmented memories of the accident. The images were blurry, like a half-remembered dream. The woman, the bridge, the blinding headlights, they flashed before his eyes, each more vivid than the last.
What happened to me? How did I end up here?
The doctor informed him he was lucky to be alive. A hit and run, the other driver unidentified. The words echoed in his mind, each one a hammer blow. A chilling realization washed over him. The warning, the cryptic message he had received just days before the accident. He hadn't been the target, he was meant to prevent it. The pieces of the puzzle started to fit together, forming a picture he wished he couldn't see. As he lay there, the full weight of his defiance crashed down on him. He had ignored the signs, dismissed the warnings as mere coincidences. The future self wasn't a tormentor, but a desperate beacon trying to prevent a tragedy. But he didn't listen. Now he was paying the price for his skepticism, and the cost was far greater than he had ever imagined. Days later, discharged and haunted by guilt, his phone rang, 11:59 p.m., the unknown number.
Hello?
Don't go to the bridge tonight. Don't trust the woman in red.
His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic tattoo of dread and anticipation. The cycle began anew. Ethan was caught in a time loop, a horrifying cycle of premonitions and consequences. Each night, the phone call, each night, the same warning. Was he destined to repeat this forever?
I have to break this somehow.
He tried breaking the pattern, different locations, different choices. But the accident on the bridge, the woman in red, always remained the constant. His fate, it seemed, was sealed. The calls became a haunting reminder of his failure, his powerlessness. He was a prisoner of time, forced to relive the same nightmare every night. One night the phone rang, 11:59 p.m. He didn't need to answer to know the warning. This time, however, the voice sounded different, weaker, filled with a strange acceptance.
It's too late, she knows. Don't try to stop it. This is how it has to be.
The line went dead. Ethan stared at the phone, a cold dread seeping into his bones.
This is the last call.
He knew, with chilling certainty, this was the last call. The loop was ending, but not by his choice. He was out of time.